Let's talk about San Francisco 49ers linebacker De'Vondre Campbell's unexpected exit during Week 15's game against the Los Angeles Rams.
It was a truly unusual situation, seeing the starting player just leave the field and head to the locker room before the game was over.
Right. And then to add to that, Coach Kyle Shanahan announced that Campbell would not play another snap for the 49ers this season.
Yeah. And it was later that we learned that Campbell had actually asked to be taken out of the game and then refused to go back in.
Which is especially strange considering he was a consistent starter all season. He played all 13 games leading up to Week 15.
Exactly. He was a significant contributor on the field. He was actually the team's second leading tackler, only behind Fred Warner.
So his performance makes this whole thing even more puzzling. What could have led to this drastic decision mid-game?
It's hard to know for sure, but it certainly raises eyebrows, especially with the strong reactions we saw from his teammates.
Right. 49ers players, George Kittle and Charvarius were very vocal after the game, publicly criticizing Campbell's actions.
Yeah, and their criticism is understandable. I mean, walking off the field can be seen as a breach of trust and a blow to team morale.
And to add another layer of complexity, Campbell was playing on a one-year contract for the 2024 season.
That's right. He was set to be an unrestricted free agent after the season, so this incident will likely have a major impact on his future with the 49ers.
It's hard to imagine them welcoming him back after this.
Yeah.
What do you think about his prospects with other teams, though?
That's a good question. It's uncertain whether another team will be willing to take a chance on him after this incident, especially with the potential baggage it brings.
To understand the potential impact of this situation on Campbell's career, it might be helpful to look back at his journey in the league.
Yeah, he's had an interesting history, playing for several different teams throughout his career. He was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons back in 2016.
Right, and spent his first 4 years with the Falcons.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that period of his career?
Well, while he was in Atlanta, he gradually earned a starting role, showed promise as a young linebacker. He put up consistent tackle numbers, even had a few interceptions, but he didn't fully blossom as a star player during his time there.
And then after Atlanta, he went on to play for the Green Bay Packers for 3 seasons.
Exactly. And this is where he really excelled. Established himself as a top-tier linebacker in the league, became a crucial part of their defense, and even earned Pro Bowl recognition.
So his time with Green Bay was definitely a highlight of his career. But what led him to leave the Packers?
Well, like a lot of players in the NFL, contract negotiations played a big role. He was looking for a more lucrative long-term deal, and the Packers just weren't ready to commit to those terms at the time.
So after Green Bay, he signed a 1-year deal with the Arizona Cardinals. How was his experience there?
It was relatively short and probably less impactful than his previous roles. He was still a starter, but the team didn't perform as well.
And then after that single season in Arizona, he ended up signing with the 49ers for the 2024 season.
Right. And his performance with the 49ers leading up to this incident was actually pretty solid. He seemed to have found a good fit within their defensive scheme.
Which, again, makes this recent event all the more perplexing. What are your thoughts on the potential motivations behind his actions?
It's tough to say for sure without hearing directly from Campbell. But considering his contract situation, it's possible that frustration over his future with the team played a part. Maybe he felt like his contributions weren't being recognized enough.
That's an interesting point. Do you think there's a chance his performance was impacted by knowing this was his contract year?
It's definitely possible. Players in contract years often face a lot of pressure to perform at their best to secure their next deal. That pressure, combined with the uncertainty about his future with the team, could have influenced his actions.
It seems like we need to talk a bit more about how NFL contracts work and the psychological effects they can have on players.
For sure. The contractual side of professional sports can be really complex and has a huge influence on players' decisions and, in some cases, their on-field performance.
This incident definitely highlights the human element behind all the stats and game strategies. It reminds us that even professional athletes are individuals dealing with complex emotions and career uncertainties.
Right. We often forget that these players have personal lives and goals that go beyond the field, and those things can sometimes affect their professional lives.
And Campbell's career trajectory, with its ups and downs across different teams, really emphasizes the unpredictable nature of a professional athlete's journey.
It's a constant battle to prove yourself, secure your future, and adapt to new environments and team dynamics.
Campbell's situation, with its unique complexities and lingering questions, really underscores the unpredictable nature of the NFL.
Definitely. This incident serves as a reminder that the dynamics within a team and the personal journeys of these players can significantly impact the course of a season and potentially a player's entire career.
Yeah, it's a high-stakes environment, for sure. I mean, there's performance expectations and financial incentives and team dynamics. It all mixes together. It really adds to the intrigue of this whole situation with De'Vondre Campbell. I mean, his one-year contract was kind of a gamble for both sides, wasn't it?
It was. You could see it as a chance for him to prove himself and maybe earn a longer-term deal. And for the 49ers, it was a way to strengthen their defense with an experienced player without committing to a long-term contract.
So from the 49ers' perspective, just how big of a loss is Campbell for their defense?
Well, it's definitely a blow to their linebackers. Fred Warner's still a dominant force there, but Campbell provided valuable experience and consistency alongside him.
Right. And his tackling stats alone show he was a key contributor. So do you think his absence is going to be noticeable in their upcoming games?
I think it'll probably have some impact. They do have some talented backups, but replacing a starting caliber linebacker midseason is always tough. They're going to need to adjust their defensive schemes and hope for strong performances from the players stepping into that role.
It makes you wonder what the 49ers will do to fill that gap.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll try to sign a free agent or promote someone from within?
It really depends on how they assess the situation and what options are available. Signing a free agent this late in the season can be tough, since most experienced players are already on teams. They might look into trades or maybe elevate someone from the practice squad to handle the immediate need.
Given the timing of everything and the circumstances surrounding his exit, Campbell's future in the NFL is looking pretty uncertain, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a turning point in his career. I mean, his talent and experience are there, but this incident is going to raise some concerns for teams about his reliability and commitment.
What do you think Campbell needs to do to kind of rebuild his reputation and maybe find another opportunity in the league?
He needs to be transparent and accountable. He needs to address this situation head on, explain his actions, and really demonstrate that he's learned from this experience. Teams are going to want to see maturity and professionalism from him.
It's a situation that could definitely make some teams hesitant to offer him a contract. Do you think his past success with teams like the Packers could work in his favor, though?
His previous performance will definitely be a factor. Teams will look at his track record, particularly that Pro Bowl season he had in Green Bay, but they'll also weigh that against the risk associated with this recent incident.
It sounds like finding the right balance between acknowledging his talent and addressing the concerns about this incident is going to be crucial for him moving forward.
Exactly. He needs to convince teams that this was an isolated incident and that he's committed to being a valuable asset both on and off the field.
Do you think age could also factor into his chances of finding a new team?
It's definitely something teams will consider. He's not old, but he's not a young up-and-comer either. So some teams might prefer to invest in younger players with more potential upside, but his experience and leadership qualities could still be attractive to some teams.
Yeah. This whole thing has really sparked a conversation about the complex relationship between talent and performance and personal factors in the high-pressure world of professional sports.
Right. It reminds us that behind the uniforms and helmets are individuals with their own ambitions and challenges and vulnerabilities.
This situation with De'Vondre Campbell really brings the human side of the NFL to the forefront.
It shows how personal stories intersect with team dynamics and contractual obligations and the constant pressure to perform at a really high level.
Campbell's journey with its highs and lows really shows how unpredictable a career in professional football could be.
Absolutely. It's a path full of opportunities and challenges where players need to adapt and persevere and always strive to prove themselves.
His story really emphasizes the importance of resilience and the ability to learn from setbacks, both for Campbell himself and for anyone facing tough times in their own lives.
It's a great reminder that even when you're facing challenges, there's always room to grow and a chance to redefine your path.
Campbell's future in the NFL is up in the air, but his story is a valuable lesson in the complexities of professional sports.
It reminds us that behind the stats and the strategies are real people navigating a world that can be very demanding and unforgiving.
It'll be fascinating to see how Campbell handles this challenge and what the next chapter of his career holds.
Only time will tell how this whole thing will shape his future. But his story gives us valuable insight into the dynamics of professional sports and that human element that often gets overlooked.
Campbell's situation really makes you think about what happens inside a team when a player does something that goes against that team spirit.
Yeah, it definitely raises questions about leadership and accountability and that balance between what a player wants and the team's unity.
How much of an impact do you think this is going to have on the 49ers locker room atmosphere?
Well, there's going to be some ripple effects for sure. Teammates are probably dealing with feelings of betrayal or confusion or even anger. The coaching staff is going to have to handle this very carefully to keep that trust and make sure everyone stays focused on their goals as a team.
It'll be interesting to see how the team dynamic changes after all of this.
It's a chance for the 49ers to show that they're resilient and they can handle adversity as a unit.
This whole incident with De'Vondre Campbell has really sparked a lot of discussion and speculation among fans and analysts.
And it's no wonder. I mean, it's unusual, and it raises a lot of questions about player behavior and team dynamics and the business side of the NFL.
It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out and what the consequences will be for Campbell and the 49ers.
It really highlights the fact that professional sports are complex and unpredictable. Individual decisions can have huge implications for players and teams.
It's a story that reminds us that there's a human element behind the game. Even in a structured environment like the NFL, unexpected things happen that can change everything and make us rethink our assumptions.
It's a perfect example of the dynamics of teamwork and individual choices and how to balance personal goals with the goals of the team.
This situation with De'Vondre Campbell has definitely given us a lot to think about.
It encourages us to consider all the different things that influence how players act and the impact that individual decisions can have on a team's success.
Campbell's future is still unknown, but his story will continue to be something people talk about as we see the consequences of this event unfold.
It reminds us that the NFL, with all its rules and strategies, is ultimately about people. It's shaped by the choices and actions or relationships of everyone involved.
Goodbye and see you in the next video.